They found her near the cliffs, bones curled tightly, as if guarding something, and beside her skull, a single seashell, placed gently, delicately, as if someone wanted her to keep listening. But the sea was miles away. She had never lived near water. Not once. So how did the shell find her? Some say she met a traveler, a man from the coast, a storyteller. He came with songs of whales and waves, and hands that spoke in soft touches. He stayed only a few nights, long enough to light something inside her. Then he was gone, the shell left behind. No one believed her when she spoke of him. They said the ocean was a myth, that no such man had ever walked their land. But she knew what she felt. She knew the sound the shell made when held to her ear. Even years later, she would listen to it, not for the sea, but for his voice. The others forgot. She didn't. She never took a mate. She never stopped holding the shell just before sleep. And when she died, someone placed it beside her, gently, as if they finally understood. Maybe it was her sister. Maybe it was no one at all. Maybe it was memory itself that gave her back what she had lost. Thousands of years later, the shell was still there, still pressed near her skull, still listening. Some say love is only real when returned, but sometimes it's real when it remains, unspoken, unanswered, but never forgotten. If this story moved you, like the video, subscribe and help keep ancient hearts alive, one whisper at a time.
She had no children, no legacy, but someone returned to the place where she slept. A girl, small, barefoot, curious. She had found the shell, half buried in the cliffs, drawn to its spiral, drawn to the silence that felt like more. No one told her the story. They had forgotten it. But the girl listened anyway, held the shell to her ear, and heard something. Not the sea, but a breath, a rhythm, a voice without words. She began to visit the site daily, bringing flowers, stones, pieces of bark shaped like boats. She never explained why, but she told the shell everything about her dreams, her fears, her loneliness, and the shell always listened. Years passed. The girl grew. She kept the shell on a cord around her neck, carried it through storms, through loss, through love. She never knew the woman it once belonged to, but somehow they shared something, a memory not made, but inherited. Some say the soul echoes through objects, others say we imagine what we need. But she knew this. The shell was more than a story. It was a voice, and it had waited for her. If you believe some hearts speak across generations, like this video, subscribe and keep listening, because the sea is never silent. They found her near the cliffs, bones curled tightly, as if she had died protecting something, and beside her skull, a seashell, delicate, intact, placed gently, as if it were meant to be heard, even in death. But she had never lived near the sea. The ocean was days away. Her people feared it, avoided its stories. So how did the shell find her? Some said she met a man with salt in his hair, and songs of waves she had never seen. He stayed only a short while, but long enough to leave the shell behind, and long enough to never be forgotten. They said it was foolish, said she made it up, but she kept it anyway, listened to it each night, not for the ocean, but for his voice. She never took a mate. She never stopped listening. And when she died, someone placed the shell beside her. Maybe it was her sister. Maybe it was no one at all. Maybe it was memory itself that laid it down. Generations passed, but the shell remained. One day, a child found it near the same cliffs. She didn't know the story, but when she held it to her ear, she heard something, a sound that wasn't sea or wind, but something older, something waiting. She visited the place often, spoke to the shell, grew with it, slept with it tied to her wrist. It became her secret, her anchor, her echo, and when she grew old, after a night of rain, she woke with a knowing. It was time. She walked to the riverbank, where another child sat alone. She placed the shell in her hands softly, as if passing a breath from one life to the next. The girl didn't ask why. She just listened. Some memories are told in words, others through what we choose to carry or pass on. And some, like this shell, speak loudest in silence. If this story spoke to you, like the video, subscribe, and help carry these forgotten voices forward, one listener at a time. They say it began with one shell, left by the sea, carried by a man, given to a woman who never let herself forget. But memory is not a stone. It moves, it softens, it becomes something else. Generations passed, and the girl who received the shell at the riverbank became a storyteller, not with words, but with pauses, with quiet, with firelight and waiting. She never said where the shell came from, only that if you listened long enough, you would hear your own truth inside it. She let others hold it, one by one, but only for a moment. It was passed around the circle, always in silence, and always returned to her. Years later, when she died, the shell was gone. No one found it, but the story remained. And soon other shells appeared, not from the sea, but from riverbeds, caves, the hands of wandering children. Smooth stones, carved wood, things that carried nothing, and everything. They began to call themselves the listeners. Not a tribe, not a cult, but a circle, scattered across generations. They did not build monuments, they passed no laws, but they remembered. They passed on objects, small and quiet, tied with cord, buried in fire pits, left under sleeping mats. Each meant something only to the one who received it, but every gift whispered the same thing. I was here, I heard, and now I leave this for you. In one cave, archaeologists found a line of shells stretching deep into the dark, each placed centuries apart, one by one, patiently, like echoes waiting for ears. Some say the first woman still walks among them. Others believe the shell was never real, just a story. But what matters is this: the circle never ended. And somewhere, someone is still listening. If you heard something in this silence, like the video, subscribe, and join the ones who remember, not with noise, but with care. They found her in the highlands, alone, wrapped in animal hide, face turned toward the wind. She wore no jewelry, no paint, no sign of tribe. Only one thing marked her: a worn leather, tied with vine. Inside it, not a shell, but a single white stone, smooth, polished by years of touch, and carved beneath it, faintly, a spiral. The elders who saw it froze. They knew that marker. It was older than memory, older than any cave painting, a symbol not meant to be seen, but felt. They asked who she was. She said nothing, only smiled, listened, and held the stone in her hand. She stayed one night, watched the children, sat by the fire, eyes closed, as if hearing stories no one told. Then, at dawn, she left. No one followed. But when they looked where she had slept, they found a second stone, smaller, marked with the same spiral. It had been left beside a baby. The child would grow up never knowing her name, but the stone would stay with him, through seasons, through sorrow, and one day he too would pass it on. They say she was the last of the original line, the final daughter of the one who heard the sea, but that is not what mattered. What mattered was this: she never told her story. She gave it away, in silence, without a name, without asking anything in return, because true memory is not in what we say, but in what we leave with care. If her silence moved you, like this video, subscribe, and become part of the circle. Not with words, but with listening.